Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the psychological traps around money, starting with the illusion of status. We're going to look at why doing everything perfectly right on a spreadsheet doesn't always translate into lasting wealth. Because let's be honest, money isn't just math, right? It's deeply, deeply psychological. Your mind is quietly working against you in the background, and if you don't understand your own emotions around money, you're pretty much guaranteed to keep making the same mistakes.
So let's kick things off with a question that honestly haunts almost everyone trying to build wealth. Why does financial success never actually feel like it's enough? You know the feeling. You get a raise, you feel great, until you realize a coworker is making more. You buy a nice car, and boom, someone pulls up next to you in a nicer one. You might feel super proud of what you've built, until you open up social media and suddenly feel like you're falling way behind.
Which brings us to Section 1, the endless comparison trap. To really grasp this, we have to understand that our brains are practically hardwired for endless comparison. The philosopher Bertrand Russell hit the nail on the head when he said, "It's impossible to escape envy by means of success." There is literally no ceiling to it. The higher you climb, the more the goalposts just keep moving. And this isn't a new problem. Even the greatest conquerors in history fell into this trap. Napoleon envied Caesar. Caesar envied Alexander the Great. And Alexander? Well, he envied Hercules, a guy who didn't even exist. I mean, come on, that just perfectly captures how absurd this whole game is. If your true goal is freedom and happiness, the only way to actually win this game is to just stop playing it.
And that brings us to Section 2, the man in the car.
We all want to be respected and admired, right? And society tells us that a fancy car, a massive house, or a ridiculously expensive watch is the shortcut to getting that admiration. But here is the core paradox, what author Morgan Housel calls the man in the car paradox. You drop a ton of money on a sports car because you want people to notice you. But here's the hilarious, kind of sad reality. Pedestrians don't care about you at all. When someone sees a Ferrari roll by, they're not thinking, wow, the person driving that must be really smart and successful. No way. They're thinking, man, if I had that car, people would think I'm so cool. They completely ignore the driver. They're just picturing themselves behind the wheel.
It's fascinating, right? Wealth, or at least the display of it, just becomes a mirror reflecting people's own desires to be liked and admired. Your expensive stuff isn't earning you an ounce of respect. People are just using your luxury items as a prop for their own daydreams. If you're dropping cash to buy admiration, it literally almost never works. Real, lasting respect doesn't come from your driveway. It comes from humility, kindness, and empathy. That brings way more admiration than any luxury item ever could.
All right. Moving on to Section 3, the danger of never enough.
So, what actually happens when we spend our lives chasing this endless validation instead of just defining what our limits are? Well, there's absolutely no logical reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. Yet people who already have more than enough do it all the time. Think about this, $20 billion. That was the staggering peak net worth of Sam Bankman-Fried when he was just 29 years old. Back in 2021, his company FTX was this massive crypto exchange, and everyone was calling him the next Warren Buffett. Politicians were praising him, celebrities endorsed him, the whole shebang.
But let's look at what was happening behind the curtain. The guy had off-the-charts financial intelligence, but because the concept of enough completely didn't exist for him, he risked what he needed to get things he didn't, and he lost everything. He was quietly mixing customer funds, and not to survive, right? Not to put food on the table. He did it to chase more control, more status, and more admiration. And because he didn't know when to stop, the entire empire collapsed overnight. Billions evaporated, and he ended up arrested and disgraced. It's a terrifying extreme, but it shows how silent and deadly this trap really is.
Okay, so how do we escape this? Let's dive into Section 4, the invisible nature of wealth.
To break free, we basically need to flip our definition of success upside down. We're so used to judging wealth by what we can clearly see, the $100,000 car, the massive house. But what we don't see is the massive car loan, the sleepless nights, or the crushing pressure to keep up that perfect image. True wealth is actually silent. As Morgan Housel defines it, wealth is the financial assets that haven't yet been converted into the stuff you see. It's the money you didn't blow just to feel successful for a 10-minute drive.
This perfectly highlights the difference. Looking rich is loud, it's highly visible, it's spending money to show off. But being wealthy is silent, it's unseen. Absolutely no one is going to give you a standing ovation for skipping the newest phone upgrade or quietly throwing money into an index fund every month. But those are the exact invisible moves that build lasting wealth. Spending money to show people how much money you have is literally the fastest way to have less of it. I absolutely love this concept. Savings is the gap between your ego and your income. When you stop letting your lifestyle and your ego inflate every time you get a raise, you build the ultimate invisible asset, absolute freedom over your own time and real peace of mind. Housel argues that saving doesn't even always need a specific goal attached to it. You can literally just save to give yourself options, to give yourself room to breathe. When your ego shrinks, your need to impress strangers shrinks, and suddenly saving becomes a whole lot easier.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this. Are you spending to be seen, or are you saving to buy your freedom? Take a second to really think about what game you're playing out there. Because at the end of the day, no amount of visible, flashy status is ever going to be worth losing your invisible wealth. The highest form of wealth isn't a luxury car. It's waking up every single morning and saying, I can do whatever I...
Hey everyone.